News, y'all. KPVIDEONEWS, y'all. Right.
That's right. It's KP's Video News, y'all. This is going to be a cop-heavy episode. That's right. I'm trying to catch them. Catching them left and right. I'm on COPWATCH. Got a video. Shows a sheriff deputy striking a man with a shield during a West Hollywood protest. L.A. County Sheriff's deputies dispersed protesters marching in Hollywood on Friday night, and an L.A. County Sheriff deputy was captured on video beating a man with the riot shield while he was pinned to the ground Friday night as a protest in West Hollywood decrying the police killing of Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky, resulted in 6 arrests. Officers, sheriff deputies appeared to fire projectiles toward protesters. The L.A. County Sheriff's Department said in a statement that force was used during the arrest and that investigation is being conducted. A spokesman said that he did not have information about what type was used or force was used, but the department was aware of the video. Cammie Hicks, a 36-year-old activist from Burbank who recorded the video, stated the crowd was not given enough time to disperse before deputies deployed force. There's no time to even react, and we're supposed to stay calm and relaxed when we're getting shot at and tear gassed and hit with rubber bullets, she stated. The crowd at one point numbered more than 100 people as the march headed toward Grove Shopping Complex, and later in the evening, authorities declared an unlawful assembly and issued an order to disperse after several acts of vandalism took place, the sheriff's department stated in a statement. And after the order was given, 2 pickup trucks were seen driving recklessly on Sunset Boulevard with multiple subjects hanging out the back of the truck bed, the statement said. Both vehicles then blocked traffic, taking over the street on Sunset Boulevard and San Vicente Boulevard. Deputies approached the vehicles and detained about 10 people, 6 of whom were subsequently arrested on suspicion of offenses including reckless driving, unsecured passengers in a truck bed, battery on a peace officer, attempting to free a suspect from police custody, resisting or obstructing deputies in the course of their duties, and failure to disperse. The Sheriff's Department stated their identities were not released, and the department declined to provide additional information surrounding the circumstances of the arrest and citing an ongoing investigation. Hicks was following the demonstration from her car, ready to offer free rides home for protesters who were stranded or injured. And after deputies gave the order to disperse, people began separating, and she pulled over on Sunset Boulevard to look out for anyone who needed help. She saw a smaller crowd approach, led by a man in a wheelchair and a truck. Then, she said, an armored sheriff's department truck showed up and began stopping people in the road and ordering them to break up. At the same time, she stated, deputies pulled the driver of the truck out of the vehicle, pinned him to the ground, so she began recording on Instagram, capturing a deputy repeatedly hammering a man's ankles with his riot shield. Her video was widely shared on social media. She said other deputies fired irritants into the crowd. The deputy then approached Hicks' car, and she ended her recording. It was 9:46 p.m., she stated. She rolled down the window and began choking from the gas. She said she was told to leave and did. She turned the corner and pulled over to wait for another activist who had been driving behind her, but the woman never came. Hicks said she later learned the woman was arrested. I don't get it, Hicks said. We're both doing the exact same thing. She later added, it never gets violent until the sheriff deputies show up. The arrest came a day after a truck drove through a group of protesters in Hollywood, striking at least one person as it sped through the crowd. Officers had stopped and identified the driver Thursday night, but then let him go. And Captain Laurie, who commands the LAPD's Hollywood division, said police were reviewing whether the driver and another who drove a Prius through the same protest crowd were the suspect of a hit and run or a victim of an assault. The truck driver told police that the protesters had attacked his car first and officers noted the damage to the vehicle. Laurie stated on Friday police did say the preliminary investigation had determined the protesters that surrounded the man's truck and began beating his vehicle with sticks and tried to open the door to his vehicle. The demonstrators were part of the latest wave of protests to sweep the country with renewed intensity after a Kentucky grand jury decided Wednesday not to hold police officers who shot Breonna Taylor, a black medical worker, during a bungled raid on her apartment, legally responsible for her death. And protesters had already been demonstrating against police killings regularly in the LA area, and after a string of controversial fatal shootings by sheriff deputies, including Andres Guardado in Gardena on June 18th and Dijon Kizzy in Westmont on August 31st. The sheriff's department has also been criticized for its handlings of the demonstration themselves, most recently after arresting a public radio reporter who was covering a small protest outside a hospital where 2 deputies were recovering from gunshot wounds. LA County District Attorney's Office said this week that it would not file criminal charges against the news media person. Prosecutors noticed in court that documents that Wayne did not appear to have been trying to interfere with deputies, but was merely recording an arrest they were making in the public area. After deputies ordered her to back up, they grabbed her and took her to the ground, giving her little, if any, time to comply. And the sheriff's department had said that Wang did not identify herself as a member of the media and lacked proper press credentials when she was arrested outside of St. Francis Medical Center in Linwood on September 12th, but that account was later contradicted by Wang's video shared on Twitter, in which she can clearly be heard identifying herself as a reporter and screaming for help. Her recordings also captured deputies kicking and stomping on her phone. Wow. So I'm telling you, man, this stuff is going out. In court documents, a group of 13 plaintiffs, including protesters injured in marches against police violence over the summer, claimed that the department has been improperly using force to disperse crowds without giving those present significant warning and time to obey the orders. And so that's where we at right now today. It's where we at today, folks. And this is another thing that's coming up. And you got some fired deputies from Orange County that claim they didn't know it was illegal to lie on police reports. Well, what do we think of next? A pair of deputies have said they didn't know it was illegal to lie on official police reports, despite being frequently trained on the matter. Wow. Bryce Richmond Simpson and Joseph Atkinson, who have both since been fired, admitted they didn't know this during a trial to a grand jury on Monday, September 21st. The pair gave the statement during another deputy's trial following the ongoing Orange County evidence scandal that came to light last year. Several Orange County deputies have claimed they had booked evidence in reports as required when they had not. Some officers didn't book the evidence until a month after writing the reports, while some didn't do the reports at all. Simpson, 31, and Atkinson, 39, are thought to be 2 of 17 former deputies being investigated. And during last week's trial, the 2 testified that they were not told it was illegal to state in police reports that they had submitted evidence when they had not. They didn't know. They claimed they didn't know it was illegal to lie on your police reports. And Orange County Sheriff's Department spokesman stated that despite what Simpson and Atkinson said, deputies are frequently trained on evidence chain of custody and booking evidence. This is supposedly taught in both basic police academy and in the department's field training program. Wow. So the scandal comes following a police audit that took place between February 2016 and February 2018, which found 27% of the Orange County Sheriff's Department's deputies were found to have taken 31 days or more to book evidence. During the second audit of the 450 reports, it was discovered that 57 deputies had falsely claimed to have submitted evidence. Last month, it was reported that the district attorney's office had launched their own review of the scandal. 6 cases have been referred to the DA's office for a decision on criminal charges, and the DA's office apparently chose not to prosecute 15 of the previous 17 cases that had been previously referred to them. Simpkins and Atkinson pleaded guilty to misdemeanor charges in June, which saw them both avoid jail time. Wow. So you can be a cop, you can lie on your police reports, and you still have a job. Still have a job. And anybody else would be removed, and everything else, man, under the sun. But hey, this is where we living at. This is where we live. So this is Georgia. This story was a little while back, and it's an officer pleads guilty in a Georgia traffic stop of a black man. The prosecutors state a former Atlanta area police officer who acknowledged choking a black man during a 2017 traffic stop will never work in law enforcement again. That's right. You'll never work in law enforcement again. A former Atlanta police officer who acknowledged choking a black man during a 2017 stop will never work in law enforcement again after pleading guilty Monday to a charge of simple battery, prosecutors stated. As part of his sentence, Davis surrendered his law enforcement certification. The district attorney's office in Henry County said in a news release announcing the plea deal. A judge also sentenced Rose to a year of probation. Wow. And 40 hours of community service, and required that the complete anger management classes. Rose, who was white, was fired from the Henry County Police Department after internal investigation found he used unnecessary force during the arrest of Desmond Merrill on December 2017. The video posted online shows Rose put his hand on Merrill's throat for several seconds. Morrow says, "I can't breathe," while another officer tells him to settle down. Rose also was recorded on his in-car video cam system saying that he had choked Merrill and that he wasn't going to include that information in his report. And though his revealing words and actions, David Rose tarnished the badge that represents all the honorable and brave men and women who serve in law enforcement. And Merrill played football, blah, blah, blah. The arrest affected his marriage and gym business, Merrill said Monday during his online news conference that attorneys represented him as being a lawsuit. But he said, unlike George Floyd, he lived to see his kid again. And I learned just not to take those things for granted. And Merrill's attorney praised the plea deal and sentenced particularly the requirement that Rose surrender his law enforcement certification and called on county officials to reach a settlement with Merrill. Rose was responding to a report that Merrill and the driver of another vehicle were driving aggressively in the parking lot of a Target store in McDonald, about 30 miles southeast of Atlanta, according to the DA's office. The 1-minute video clip of the arrest, officers can be seen forcefully taking a handcuffed Merrill to the ground by sweeping his legs out from under him as he yells, "I'm not even fighting back." Rose put his hands on Merrill's throat after Merrill was on the ground. An attorney for Merrill stated that her client lost consciousness. Merrill was arrested on charges including terroristic threats and felony obstruction of a law enforcement officer. A magistrate judge dismissed the terroristic threat charges, and Patillo dismissed the felony obstruction charge. The grand jury indictment also charged Rose with violating the oath of public office, false official writings, and making a false statement. These charges were dismissed as part of the plea deal. Wow, they get away with everything, man. These cats just get away. They can beat people, choke people, stomp on people, and hit people with shields, and the only thing they get is a slap on the wrist. And so this is on with the show. This is a cop-heavy episode. I told you, it's a Texas sheriff who starred on Live PD is charged with tampering in a black man's death. Wow. A sheriff deputy who starred on the controversial reality TV show Live PD, which eventually was taken off the air along with cops, was arrested Monday on evidence tampering in the case of a black man who died in police custody. Williamson County Sheriff Robert Chody is accused of destroying or concealing audio and video footage that showed his deputies pursuing and using force on Javier Ambler, 40, in March 2019, according to the indictment. The footage was captured by live PD cameras on the night that Ambler, a former postal worker and a father of two, died following a 22-minute car chase by Williamson County deputies. Ambler's death and the question over the destroyed live PD footage ignited a controversy that led to the cancellation of the hit TV show on A&E in June. Former Williamson County General Counsel is accused of destroying the recordings with intent to impair their ability as evidence in investigation of Ambler's death. Chody and Nassar were indicted on a felony evidence tampering charge and released on $10,000 bond, officials stated. Both men are facing between 2 and 10 years in prison if convicted, and the charges were brought following a months-long joint investigation involving the Austin Police Department and the District Attorney's Office in Williamson County and Travis counties, and a total of 19 witnesses were brought before the grand jury. We spent several months putting all this together and presented a large number of witnesses to the grand jury, it was stated. And Chody, you're going to jail, buddy. And here we go. This is another disturbing story. This is a disturbing story. What's going on? You know, just saying. This is pretty much similar to what was going on with that Ahmaud Arbery situation, but this happened in Mississippi. So you got a father and son that are behind bars for chasing down black teens on ATVs and shooting on them and shooting at them. Mississippi father and son are behind bars, and they are after they allegedly used ATV motorcycles to chase down and attack 2 black teens Sunday night. Not only did they shoot at him, they also ran into the back of his four-wheeler, and that could have also been murder right then and there, said the mother of one of the 2 teens. The teens were reportedly out for a ride on their ATVs on a popular road when Oscar Twiner and his son Lane Twiner pursued them and tried to stop them and shoot them and bump them with the four-wheelers. According to the sheriff, the Twiners, who are white, have been charged with aggravated assault. We're still looking at some things on that to see if we can establish a hate crime or not. We've got to get with the DA and look at the statutes to say whether that can be a hate crime or not, the sheriff stated. And one of the teens said he can still hear the gunshots when he closed his eyes, and he can still fear the jarring of the truck. They were in a pickup truck ramming his ATV. So the kids were on the ATVs, riding the little ATVs, a little four-wheeler, little motorcycles on the dirt bikes, which, by the way, are a lot of fun to ride. Anyway, and at one point, he was able to see one of the men shooting at him from the driver's side, and the other shooting at him across the roof of the truck from the passenger side. And he can still see it. He said he didn't sleep at all that night. Wow. Crazy, man. Crazy. So this is the kind of stuff that's going on today, folks. It's going on right today. It's 2020. Down in Mississippi, man. So if you're riding your ATV, you better take your gun with you. Take your gun with you. Gotta take your own gun. Make sure you got your gun with you, cause doggone, at least you'll be able to protect yourself.
KPVIDEONEWS,
Peace.
It's time for what?
Peace, peace, peace.